In lesson 3.5, dividing rational numbers, we're going to progress through on these objectives, and you're going to apply skills developed from dividing integers to dividing rational numbers. So if you recall back to lesson 2.2, there's the skills that you learned about positives and negatives and what the answer is going to be. It's the exact same thing here. We may just have to work a little bit with some fractions and some complex fractions and help you out there. But just as a review, when the dividend and the divisor have different signs, the quotient will be negative. So if you look, I kind of put it so hopefully you guys can remember here. The dividend is in the numerator, the divisor is the denominator, and then your answer, the quotient, is your answer. So a negative divided by a positive is a negative. A positive divided by a negative is a negative also. That's what that's saying. When the dividend and the divisor have the same sign, the quotient will be positive. So again, the dividend's in the numerator, divisor's in the denominator, so the quotient is our answer. Positive divided by a positive will give you a positive. Negative divided by a negative will give you a positive answer. And then one last thing as far as setup, if the quotient, so that's your answer, is negative, the negative sign can be placed with the dividend, so that's right here. The divisor, which is the denominator, could go there, or in front of the fraction bar, so it can go here. All three of these ways are correct. Make sure you don't put a negative in front of the 8, so it's like a negative 5 divided by a negative 8, because then that would make it a positive 5/8, okay, because of our rules. So either way, these three are correct. So continuing on with lesson 3.5, dividing rational numbers, we have over here our standard that we have to work with. 7.NS2, apply and extend previous understanding to multiplication and division, and of fractions to multiply and divide rational numbers. The essential question is, how do you divide rational numbers? We've already been working on that, and here they have our table for us again. We talked about in multiplication, P and Q representing numbers. So here's our dividend, here's our divisor, and then the sign for the answer of the quotient. Positive divided by negative is negative. Negative divided by a positive is negative. Same signs, we get positive answers. They give us some examples. We have the negative is in front of the divisor. On this one, the negative is in front of the dividend. Okay, and here it's in front of the fraction bar. So are all three of these equivalent? So then you go ahead and do your work to figure out what these all are. You have a reflect question here to go ahead and do that on. Quotients of rational numbers. Rules for dividing rational numbers are the same as dividing integers. So over 5 months, Carlos wrote 5 checks for a total of $323.75 to pay for his cable TV service. His cable bill is the same amount each month. What was the change in Carlos' bank account each month to pay for the total? So we go ahead and we highlight some information that we have. Okay, wrote 5 checks, a total of $323.75. It's the same each amount. What was the change each month? So that's kind of important here, because we're going to sort of break this down now. And if you remember what division is about the total, so we got the total, divided by your groups, so this is groups, so groups is this one right here, and that's each, and that's item. Okay, so total divided by groups equals items. So that's what you have to pick out on each one of these, okay? Since you wrote the check, that is a negative amount, okay? And you wrote that amount. So they have negative $323.75 divided by 5. And you go through and you do your math, okay? Do it long division. Remember I had showed you about they have the numerator and the denominator. Okay, so the denominator goes on the outside, numerator goes on the inside. So in the book they showed you 323 was in the numerator and 5 is in the denominator. So now again it's that series of questions. 5 goes into 3? No, it doesn't. 5 goes into 32? Yeah, it does. It goes into it 6 times. So that's 30. So I did not exceed. Okay, so I subtract, I have 2, I bring down my 3. Does 5 go into 23? Yes. So it goes into it 4 times. Okay, so I have 20. I subtract that. I have 3. I take my decimal, I put it right there. Okay, because I have all this lined up. I bring my 7 down. 5 go into 37? Yes. Goes into it 7 times. That's my math facts. Okay. So I have 35. I subtract. I have 2. I bring my 5 down. And does 5 go into 25? Yes, it does. It goes into it 5 times. And subtract 25, and I will be left with 0. I just can't. I barely get it in there. Okay. Be neat on your paper. Okay. Keep everything all lined up. That's the biggest mistake I see students do. So the amount is going to be $64.75 for those items. Remember, this is a negative, so this would be a negative up here also. Okay. Small point, but very important point. So you paid $64.75 each month. So you have some your turns here that you go ahead and do. This one's one that always throws students off, and I can understand why. A complex fraction. Just the very name of it is scary. But it basically is nothing more than a fraction over a fraction. It's a fraction written like what they did here. Okay. So what I always tell the students, rewrite this in the form you're very familiar with. It is a fraction, so it is 7/10. So it is 7/10 divided by -1/5. Okay? The fraction bar is this guy right there. That's all it means. 7/10 divided by -1/5. I'm going to use my KFC rule, because what's your favorite chicken? Alright, KFC, I'm going to keep my 7/10. I'm going to flip my divisor to a multiply, and then I'm going to change this. I'm going to do the inverse, -5/1. And now you just simply, the way I do it, is multiply straight across. So this becomes -35 over 10. 7 times 5 is 35. I chose to put my negative up here. 10 times 1 is 10. So then you go ahead and reduce this. Of course, the book also showed you how you could simplify before. Okay, so you could take this here. 5 goes into itself 1, and it goes into 10 twice. Okay, so now you would have 7 times 1, so I'm going to put it up here. It's still a negative, so that's 7, and 2 times 1 is 2. So -7/2 or -35/10. This is reduced already. This you'll have to do it again. So whatever way that you're comfortable doing is what you can do. Going through, they show you in the book how to simplify. They give you another example here on B. I'll let you read that. There's your turn, and then you go into the guide to practice. So that's all that's there. If you need help with fractions on adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing, come see me separately, and I'll be glad to help you out and get you some more information.